Okay, so we're all used to hearing about AI, right? It's what recommends our movies, maybe even helps drive our cars. But what if we could point that same technology at some of the biggest, most complex problems governments face? Well, today we're going to dive into a really fascinating proposal from Kenya that's trying to do exactly that. It's about using artificial intelligence to fight corruption, improve services, and, build a smarter state. And really, it all boils down to this one big question. Can you actually fight something as messy and human as corruption with computer code? Is it possible for an algorithm to shine a light into those dark corners? The people behind this proposal, which they're calling Eagle AI, think the answer is a definite yes. So let's see how they plan to pull it off. All right, first things first. To really get what the solution is all about, we have to understand the problem. The proposal basically argues that a lot of governments are kind of flying blind. They're trying to govern, but they're stuck in the dark, without the real-time connected data they need to make the best possible decisions for their people. And when you look at the challenges, they're huge. We're talking about public services that are just frustratingly slow, wasting everyone's time. Or think about this, huge amounts of taxpayer money just vanishing from the system. On top of that, you've got a total lack of transparency in big government contracts, data that's all over the place in separate systems that don't talk to each other, and a government that struggles to really hear what its citizens are saying. I mean, any one of these is a massive problem to solve. So, with all that on the table, what's the big idea? What's the fix? Well, it's a system called Eagle AI, and it's designed to give leaders that high-level, eagle's eye view over everything that's happening in government. So what is Eagle AI, really? At its heart, it's an integrated AI platform. But the goal here isn't just to make old paper processes digital. Nope. It's about fundamentally boosting the efficiency, the transparency, and, this is the key word, the intelligence of how a government is run. It's all about making government work smarter, not just harder. So you might be wondering, how does this thing actually work? It's not about ripping out all the old government software for taxes or contracts. Instead, it's designed to act like an intelligent layer that sits right on top of everything. It just pulls in all the data from these different separate systems and brings it into one place. For the first time, you get a single, clear picture of what's happening across the entire government. And how does it turn a mountain of raw data into something a person can actually use? Well, the process is pretty straightforward. First, it grabs all that scattered data from all the different departments. Then it cleans it all up and puts it in a standard format so you can compare apples to apples. That clean data gets fed into the AI models, which are constantly looking for patterns, trends, and weird outliers. And the result? You get real, actionable insights and automatic alerts that go straight to the people in charge. Simple idea, but wow, super powerful in practice. Okay, the theory sounds great, but what would this actually look like day to day? Now we get to the really exciting part. Let's walk through some of the real-world examples that were laid out in the proposal. Let's kick things off with a big one, public procurement. Government contracts. This is where billions of dollars are spent, but it's also a place where so much waste and corruption can happen, taking money that should have gone to schools or hospitals. So here's how the AI would tackle that. As bids for contracts are submitted, this AI procurement analyzer is just watching in real time. And it's not just looking at one bid at a time, it's analyzing the whole pattern. It's looking for red flags like the same few companies winning every single time, or bids that are way, way higher than they should be. The second it spots a high-risk pattern, bam, it flags the tender and alerts officials to take a closer look before any money changes hands. And the payoff here could be absolutely enormous. You're talking about a massive increase in transparency, a real drop in the risk of corruption, and at the end of the day, just getting way more value for public money. It creates this automated, always-on system of accountability. All right, let's move on to the next challenge. For any democracy to work, citizens have to feel heard. But seriously, how can a government actually listen to and make sense of what millions of different people are all trying to say at the same time? This is another spot where AI could be a game changer. Imagine a public portal where citizens can send in their feedback and opinions on new policies. The Eagle AI system would then use what's called natural language processing to read and understand all of it. And it's not just counting words. It's analyzing the text to figure out the main themes, the biggest trends, and the overall public mood. It turns this chaotic flood of comments into a clear, useful report that leaders can actually act on. Now let's switch gears and talk about disaster management. For as long as we can remember, governments have been reactive. A flood hits, and then the response starts. But what if we could use technology to get out ahead of the crisis before it even happens? Yeah, this is where prediction becomes so important. The system would constantly analyze huge amounts of climate and weather data, running it through a prediction model to figure out the odds of a disaster, like a major flood or a drought. If that risk level suddenly spikes, it sends an immediate warning to the disaster management teams. And they, in turn, can get early warnings out to the communities that are in danger. The whole game shifts from reaction to prevention. So when you start adding these examples up, fighting corruption, listening to citizens, predicting disasters, what's the big takeaway? What's the end game for a system like Eagle AI? Right. Here's the most crucial point. This kind of technology could spark a massive shift in how a government actually operates. It's about moving away from being constantly reactive, always running around putting out fires, and becoming truly proactive. It's about using data to see challenges coming, to stop crises before they start, and in doing so, save a ton of money, resources, and maybe even lives. And the people who wrote this proposal are not shy about how big of a deal they think this is. They literally say that artificial intelligence represents one of the most transformative technologies for modern governance. So they're not seeing this as a small upgrade. They see it as a complete paradigm shift. But, of course, a system this powerful brings up some really important questions. I mean, pulling all this government data into one place and using AI to help make decisions, that comes with a ton of responsibility. You can't just build the tech and cross your fingers. And the proposal tackles this directly by setting out some core principles for using it responsibly. It says there has to be transparency in how the algorithms work, clear accountability for the decisions they help make, a constant effort to make sure they're fair and not biased, and, above all else, rock-solid protection for citizen data and privacy. These aren't just an afterthought. They're built in from the ground up. All of this leads us to the big question about the future. Is this vision of a government that's data-driven, intelligent, and proactive, is it actually something we can achieve? And I think it's really important to know where this idea is coming from. The whole vision was proposed by a group called the Young Eagles of Transformation Kenya. So this isn't some idea being imported from Silicon Valley. It's a homegrown blueprint designed by Kenyans to solve Kenyan challenges using some of the most advanced technology out there. Which leaves us right here with this final question. Is a system like Eagle AI, one that connects all the dots, predicts problems before they happen, and gives leaders real-time intelligence, is this the future of how governments are going to work? It's a really complex idea for sure, with incredible potential, but also some big hurdles. But it definitely makes you rethink what's even possible.